ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Radio Pakistan podcast. Back in 1947, independence was a destination. We got that destination in 1947 through hard work, through negotiation, through leadership, through commitment. When we look back at our journey, those 79 years, we get to understand achieving independence was one thing and maintaining independence is an entirely different thing. And today in our show, we would like to dive deep, not into those very patriotic slogans, but into something academic and try to understand as to how can we maintain this sovereignty of ours, how can we actually feel independent living in the country we so dearly called Pakistan. And today with us on our show, on our podcast is Ms. Fareeba Ahmed. Ms. Fareeba Ahmed is a lecturer in Bahria University, Islamabad. She's an educationist. Ms. Fareeba, welcome to our show.
Thank you so very much, Ismail, for the invitation.
So, Ms. Fareeba, you teach in a university, and we get to understand that the lot that you get to teach is the younger lot.
Yes.
When we talk of this younger lot, and when we talk of their awareness of the history of Pakistan, what do you feel? Do you feel our generation, especially the Gen Zs, and the students that you get to teach, are they aware of the sacrifices that were obviously undertaken to, create this country? What kind of emotion do you see? Because we get to see that there are a lot of students who are always, aspiring to go abroad, and they seem pretty done with Pakistan. So how do you experience that?
I personally believe that Gen Z is not something that we used to think they are. They're very intelligent. Okay. I mean, the way I had seen them in the neighboring countries, the way they had their own standing. So I personally believe that they have their say, and unlike us, they do not get snubbed. They keep their opinion. They tell these are the things we are not satisfied or something like that.
How these youngsters and how the people of Pakistan should, take ownership of the country they live. So what do you think is to be done with regard to ensuring that this young lot in particular and people of Pakistan in general, they became custodian of this, independence that we had?
They observe everything. They question. Now, the most important thing, if I would not be placing it in a probably very clear words, I would say they should be given a chance to speak. They should have their representation. These university students are going to be the leaders for tomorrow. They have to take leadership roles. So the most important thing on the state level is the representation of youth on all the platforms, and then creation of jobs.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of graduates. For one single job, you would see, even for us, if we have even a clerical job or a job of a faculty, what are we supposed to do? We need to think about that we are dealing with the generation that's not as easy as we used to. They question.
Yeah.
They analyze, they evaluate.
So as Iqbal said that Dayar Maghrib ke rehne walo, Khuda ki basti dukaan nahi hai. So this, this catch that the world is actually placing, and our youth is obviously getting into that trap as well. They'll work on a gas station somewhere in England or somewhere in US, and they can send those, they can earn a good life, and then they probably have some pictures on their Instagram and their Facebook to reflect and to tell their people that they're living a very happy life. I think this is also something that our youth needs to understand, that owning your identity, you might have questions with regard to your country, with your origin, and as you rightly said that there needs to be questions.
Yes.
And the questions need to be asked. At the same time, I think it is also important for youngsters to understand their roots. Do you see students particularly influenced by thinkers like Iqbal? I mean, the people who talked about khudi, talked about self-awareness, because we seem too much, inclined by the West, and we just, I observe that our youngsters are blindly following the West. What do you think on this?
Our youth is greatly influenced by what is happening. As long as Iqbal's khudi is concerned, or Shaheen, or the very concept of, we talk about Allama Iqbal, on the institutional level, yes, in my life, I have ever experienced students or children or youth or youngsters not taking pride in being Pakistani.
Okay.
They are always. I mean, you always know it, be the war on social media, be taking side of our military, be taking, they're always at the forefront. Mm-hmm. They always do it. They play their part. For them, Pakistan always comes first. Okay. But there comes an individual, there comes a youth, there comes a professional, there comes a man who has to be, in the industry, in the market, has to work. There, yes. Then they have to, the that Pakistani person or the Pakistaniyat remains there.
Yeah.
It remains there. We sometimes say, there was a good friend of mine who went to USA, and he said that I'll collect good amount of money, and by the time I'll get back, so I'll have a good house, and I'll have all the facilities, and then I'll die peacefully. So this very economic insecurity is somewhere forcing people turn to that very colonizer mindset somewhere again. So that is something that exists. But no doubt about it that as nation, our youth, they take pride in, being Pakistani. That is something that
is. And I think also the fact that we need to be economically independent in order to be completely free. In 21st world, 21st century, in the modern world, there is hardly anybody who is going to come and who is going to, challenge you physically, geographically. The challenges are mostly economic. Yes. They are educational. And I think our founder, if we talk about Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he himself was a very progressive man.
Yes.
And we talk about fundamentalism in our country. We talk about youngsters looking for West when they talk about progress, progression, and when they talk about progressive ideas. I think Jinnah himself was a very progressive man. What do you think youngsters should learn from Jinnah's life or Jinnah's vision, and how can that help, Pakistanis in general to understand who they are?
Now, how many times, we have actually made Quaid-e-Azam and Iqbal part of our discussion? How many times? Other than offices, I haven't seen that importantly being a part of, our discussions or something like that. Or probably...
I mean, we do it most of the times, but in a very limited capacity.
Very limited, or on certain levels.
In a very cliched way.
Yes.
There are certain couplets of Iqbal, we just, memorize them, and we recite those couplets on a particular occasion. And also Jinnah, I think we have encapsulated the entire life of Jinnah into a particular, just one segment of his personality is presented, and the entirety that I'm talking about is missing most of the time.
True that. Ismail, the most important thing that we have to see is that we actually, when we translate Pakistan or its independence, or when we talk about freedom, we are forgetting a lot of. When you talk about the progressive approach that Iqbal, Quaid-e-Azam had, we are forgetting that a clean-shaved man with that Western dressing had been a part of the Western, culture, had talked with them, studied there, had negotiated with them, discussed with them, critically evaluated, give rebuttals. So how strong Quaid-e-Azam's personality was, and how Allama Iqbal had actually turned a dream into reality, and then it's very much in depth. When we want our founders or our thinkers or these legendary figures to be part, to be known, to be remembered, their ideas to be, made aware to our students, then we need to actually put more effort. It should not be cliched, as you said. It should not be.
Exactly. I mean, this is something that we need to really understand as to why our youth seems confused,
Yes.
or why are they misdirected.
Yes.
You always have someone that you look
Forward
up to.
to.
You
Yes,
look
yes,
up to
absolutely.
someone in your lives. We had people. I mean, Iqbal was a genius of his time.
True.
Jinnah was that kind of a guy who did his law from England in a very young age, came back to India. And when we talk about India, at that point, we are talking about Nehru, we are talking about
Yes.
Gandhi, we are talking about people who were so smart and able to sit on a negotiating table and earning something. It was not easy.
An easy task.
And it happened through dialogue.
True that.
It happened through discussions. There was never a point where Jinnah encouraged any kind of violence. He was somebody who was obviously on the side of argument, on the side of debate. He was a lawyer himself. So discussions and debates, they're very important.
True.
Iqbal presented many ideas. He even countered his own ideas.
Yes.
If we talk about Shikwa, then he
and then
reflected
Shikwa.
and he reflected and he reverted from the opinions that he had. My recent experience from Turkey, where I experienced that they were extremely, the people of Turkey, they are extremely passionate about their history. They're so proud of their history. They appreciate. We just get to see that the West is very progressive, but I witnessed is that they say that we are far more progressive than the West, because Ataturk gave them those ideas of freedom, for example, the women rights and all in 1920s, and the US got it in 1960s.
Yes,
They're far behind them, and they're so proud of their history. So it is very important to be passionate about your country. It is important to be patriotic. Why those people are so so caring about their ideals or their heroes? It's again that they've not only achieved independence, or they did not only make a state, they are actually maintaining it. They are very patriotic. So I think we can learn from these examples that there are people who are equally brilliant in our part of the world, who had a vision, but somehow our youngsters were not really introduced to those sides of those personalities. Make sure that your youngsters and your countrymen, they understand their heroes. So I think we need to own our heroes. Do you think this is an issue as well, that we don't get to appreciate our heroes?
The nations who actually keep their heroes alive, it's important to maintain their legacy.
Yeah.
Maintaining legacy needs effort, and effort is to be on all the levels.
Yeah.
On the educational level, on the political level, on social level, on all the levels. So we need to probably, at this point, we might be allowed to say something, we might not be allowed to say something, and you know it. You always know it. We always know it. It is something said or unsaid. We always know. Yet, in order to keep your heroes alive, in order to inculcate those skills or those probably traits into the young generation that had marked the beauty of their characters, we need to put conscious efforts. When you talk about Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who stood firm in front of the group that was more powerful, they had their hegemony, but Iqbal had his own beauty of character. He didn't ever, go with probably a disrespectful comment. He was always critical. He had an analytical approach. So this is something beautiful. How much people have sacrificed for this land,
Exactly.
and how much it has taken from them. But again, there's one more thing that we actually, since I'm pursuing my PhD as well, and sometimes we talk about that, are we actually talking about the story of independence from the common people's perspective as well?
Exactly. I mean,
so
that's
we
the
need to
question.
actually keep that as well, that we
Exactly.
talk about. So putting conscious effort on certain levels matter in order to keep the history alive, patriotism alive, love for the country, and that very integrity.
Yes.
We need to put conscious efforts.
And as Iqbal said, Rabt qaim fard millat se tanha kuch nahi, mauj hai darya mein aur behrune darya kuch nahi. So we conclude our discussion here with this couplet of Iqbal, that we all have to play our part, we all have to play our role, and all of us need to understand, be the state, be the individuals, be the citizens, youngers or old, we all need to understand that unless and until we work together And unless and until we all embrace our past, we can still feel that despite having the geographic sovereignty, we might struggle maintaining our independence. Thank you so much for watching Radio Pakistan podcast. Thank you, Ms. Fareeba.
Thank you so very much for
ये रेडियो पाकिस्तान पॉडकास्ट है।